You think you've been breathing your whole life, but what if you've only been inhaling air, not awareness? Somewhere between survival and awakening, something sacred was forgotten. The ancients called it the first prayer. Science calls it an autonomic rhythm. Both point to the same truth. Your breath is not keeping you alive, it's keeping you aligned. Take a breath, right now. Notice the air entering your body, the quiet rise and fall of the chest. That rhythm is older than your name, older than language, older than the story you tell yourself about who you are. And here's the paradox that startles even those who've walked the spiritual path for decades. The more you chase awakening, the further away it seems to move. The harder you try to surrender, the tighter you grip. You meditate, you affirm, you visualize, and still something inside whispers, why isn't it working? That whisper is truth trying to be heard because consciousness doesn't respond to words. It responds to states, and breath is the oldest language of state there is. The masters understood this. They never said pray harder, they said breathe deeper. The universe is not listening to your voice, it's listening to your frequency, and your frequency is written in the rhythm of your breath. Every inhale you take is a signal sent into the quantum field. Every exhale is a command released into reality. You are broadcasting constantly, whether you know it or not, and the question that decides everything is simple. What station have you been tuned to? Here's where the paradox sharpens. You desire peace, but you breathe like you're being chased. You crave abundance, yet your breath remains shallow, a silent code of scarcity. You seek connection, yet your chest is armored from old memories of loss. And the field, mercilessly accurate, reflects the rhythm you send. The truth lands gently but firmly. You are not separate from what you manifest. You are breathing it into being. Mystics whispered this for centuries. Scientists are proving it now. Neuroscience calls it heart-brain coherence. Mystics call it union. Different languages, same geometry. When your breath becomes conscious, the two hemispheres of your existence, the seen and the unseen, finally meet. But a deeper question unfolds beneath this revelation. If breath is the bridge, who is the one crossing it? Who is the you that watches the rise and fall of your chest? That silent witness behind the breath, that is the beginning of everything. When you start to notice the breather instead of the breath, you awaken the observer. In that instant, you stop being a body inhaling air and become awareness inhaling experience. This is the threshold, the place where spirituality stops being concept and becomes physics. You realize the field isn't waiting for you to do more, it's waiting for you to be more present. So breathe, not to survive, but to remember. Inhale slowly and feel the universe entering you. Exhale gently and feel yourself returning to the universe. This is not imagination, this is resonance, and resonance is the language creation understands. You are not a seeker chasing enlightenment. You are the rhythm through which enlightenment breathes itself awake. And now the mystery opens wider. If every breath is a transmission, what happens when you learn to breathe with awareness? What new reality begins to form the moment the observer and the breath become one? That is where we go next. We go. Reality is not solid, it is suspended, waiting, shimmering, listening. Modern physics calls it the field of probability, a realm of infinite potential where particles exist in multiple states at once until awareness touches them. But awareness is not thought. Awareness is not mental noise or wishful thinking. Awareness is the silent observer behind the thought, and the way that observer breathes determines which version of reality collapses into form. Werner Heisenberg once called it the uncertainty principle. The ancients called it divine will. Both describe the same mystery. Nothing becomes real until consciousness chooses it. But here is the part almost no one speaks about. It is not the act of looking that collapses the wave. It is the state of being from which you look. The body, not the intellect, is the true instrument of observation. Your breath, your heart rhythm, your electromagnetic field. These are the lenses through which the quantum world decides what to become. Every moment of your life is proof of this law. You have stood before the mirror of existence, asking it to change, and wondered why it doesn't respond. But the mirror cannot reflect what you demand. It can only reflect what you are. The field is mercilessly honest. It does not translate your words. It translates your vibration. It reads the symphony of your nervous system, the pulse of your heart, the rhythm of your lungs, and mirrors it back as matter, circumstance, and experience. This is the physics of presence. Presence is not just mindfulness. It is the measurable alignment between your inner frequency and the field around you. When you are incoherent, scattered, anxious, impatient, the signals you send are fragmented. They interfere with one another like chaotic static. But when you breathe slowly, rhythmically with awareness, the noise begins to harmonize. Heart and brain enter coherence. Their electromagnetic fields synchronize into a unified wave. That wave extends far beyond your skin. It radiates up to several feet around you, forming an invisible sphere of influence that rearranges probability itself. You have felt this without realizing it. The peace that enters a room when a calm person arrives, the unease that lingers when someone is tense, even if they say nothing. This is the breath field, your own living frequency, transmitting data into the quantum web. The universe responds not to what you want, but to what you are broadcasting. This is why Neville Goddard taught, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. He wasn't speaking in metaphors, he was describing quantum mechanics through human language. To assume means to become coherent with the version of yourself that already exists in potential. To hold that frequency long enough for the wave to collapse into form. It is physics disguised as prayer. Now pause and consider this. Every time you breathe in fear, you are collapsing a timeline of limitation. Every time you breathe in trust, you are collapsing a timeline of expansion. The difference between stagnation and manifestation is not effort. It is resonance. Your breath is the metronome by which the field measures coherence. Neuroscience confirms what the mystics have always known. When your breathing slows to approximately 6 cycles per minute, the vagus nerve activates, heart rate variability increases, and the brain's hemispheres synchronize. This physiological harmony creates what scientists call coherence. In this state, intuition heightens, perception sharpens, and emotion stabilizes. The brain stops reacting to old memories and begins anticipating possibility. You are literally broadcasting a new signal into the field. You have moved from observer to creator. This is why the spiritual path can never be intellectual alone. The intellect records the truth, it cannot embody it. Thought flickers too fast to stabilize frequency. The breath, however, moves at the pace of the universe. Slow, rhythmic, cyclical. Each inhale expands potential. Each exhale grounds it into form. When your breath becomes coherent, your energy field becomes coherent. And coherence is the only frequency the universe recognizes as truth. So the question arises, how do you maintain this alignment in the noise of modern life? How do you breathe with awareness when the world demands urgency? The answer is not withdrawal, it is rhythm. When you anchor your breath, you anchor the field. you stop being pulled into external turbulence and begin radiating internal order. The outer world stops dictating your state, and your state begins shaping the outer world. This is not poetic suggestion, it is measurable resonance. Imagine your body as an instrument. Your heart is the drum, your lungs the strings, your mind the resonating chamber. Each shallow breath detunes the music, each conscious inhale retunes it. When you breathe in awareness, the field hears a clear tone and organizes around it. The old noise fades, replaced by symmetry. This is why miracles do not break the laws of physics, they reveal them. Presence, then, is not passive. It is the most powerful form of action. It is creation without control, alignment without effort. The breath becomes your laboratory, your tuning fork, your bridge between matter and meaning. Through it, you rediscover what the mystics meant when they said, "Be still and know that you are God." Stillness is not the absence of movement. It is movement so perfectly coherent that it appears as silence. When you enter that silence, you stop chasing outcomes. You begin to feel the pulse of the cosmos moving through you, a rhythm so vast and familiar it feels like coming home. You realize the same intelligence that orchestrates galaxies is breathing you right now, not metaphorically, but literally. Every inhale is a quantum collapse, every exhale a release back into infinity. And so the field listens. It listens not to your prayers of wanting, but to your rhythm of being. You breathe, and the universe rearranges itself to match. You pause, and reality waits, suspended, attentive to your coherence. This is the physics of presence. When the observer and the breath move as one, reality no longer happens to you. It happens through you. And yet, a deeper mystery still stirs beneath the surface, one that reveals where the true doorway lies. Between the inhale and the exhale, between effort and surrender, there is a pause so subtle that most never feel it. But within that pause lives the 0 point, the still center where the universe listens in perfect silence. Every breath is a bridge. It connects what is seen to what is unseen, the finite to the infinite. You stand at the edge of two realities each time you inhale, the tangible world of matter and the invisible field of consciousness. The movement of air through your lungs is not just biology, it is the choreography of creation. When you breathe with awareness, you become the point where the physical world and the quantum field meet, where information becomes form. Ancient mystics described this with poetry because language could not hold the magnitude of what they experienced. They said that spirit moves as wind, that divinity hides in the breath. Yogis called it prana, the life force that animates every atom. In Hebrew, ruach meant both wind and spirit. In Latin, spiritus carried the same double meaning. Breath as the very presence of the divine. Across cultures, the symbol was identical because the experience was universal. Breath was never just about oxygen, it was about remembering origin. Modern science is only now translating that poetry into data. When you breathe consciously, your nervous system communicates differently with your heart and brain. Neurons in the medulla signal the heart to slow, allowing waves of electrical coherence to ripple through your entire electromagnetic field. That field extends beyond your skin, interacting with the space around you. Each slow, intentional breath stabilizes the geometry of your energy body. Measurable, radiant, precise. You are literally sculpting the invisible architecture of your existence. This bridge is more than metaphor. It is the mechanism through which consciousness instructs matter. Every inhale draws potential into you. Every exhale releases command into the field. The cycle forms a conversation, the universe listening and responding through rhythm. When your breath is shallow and erratic, the conversation becomes distorted. The field receives static, confused by conflicting signals of fear and control. But when your breath flows in harmony, your body becomes an instrument of coherence. The messages you send are clear, consistent, and magnetic. Life begins to align effortlessly around that clarity. Consider how you feel when you witness someone deeply at peace. Without words, you sense their stability. Their calm seems to reorganize the air around them. That invisible influence is coherence in motion, the electromagnetic echo of conscious breath. It is the reason why presence heals, why love radiates, why silence from a grounded being can feel louder than speech. The bridge works both ways. Through your breath, the field shapes you, and through your breath, you shape the field. The Egyptians encoded this truth in their initiatory temples. Hieroglyphs depict figures exhaling spirals of light, each spiral representing a frequency transmitted through sound and breath. They believed that words carried creation only when spoken from the breath of the heart. This was not superstition, it was spiritual physics. The vibration of breath empowered the intention, embedding consciousness into matter. Thousands of years later, quantum acoustics would show that vibrational frequencies can organize particles into sacred geometry patterns. What the ancients practiced ceremonially, science now observes in laboratories. Your breath performs that same miracle each moment, turning thought into vibration and vibration into physical experience. The more coherent your inner state, the more ordered the outer patterns become. You are not separate from the fabric of reality. You are a strand within it, pulsing, weaving, breathing it into new configurations. When you remember this, you no longer pray for connection. You realize you are connection itself. Awareness of this bridge changes the way you move through the world. You stop reacting to circumstances as if they are fixed. Instead, you begin to sense them as energetic feedback, reflections of your current breath frequency, an argument, a delay, an unexpected loss. These are not punishments, they are indicators showing where coherence has faltered. When you realign the breath, the pattern stabilizes. Reality responds immediately, not as reward, but as resonance. At this level of understanding, breath becomes the most advanced technology you possess. You do not need complex rituals, mantras, or systems to access the divine. You only need rhythm and awareness. Through this rhythm, you can enter states of consciousness that mystics described as communion and scientists now identify as gamma coherence, where intuition accelerates, perception expands, and love becomes the baseline frequency. The bridge between the human and the divine is not built outside of you, it rises within every cycle of inhale and exhale. As your awareness deepens, you start noticing something profound. The breath begins to breathe you. There is an intelligence moving through it that is not personal. When you surrender into that intelligence, control dissolves, yet presence strengthens. The universe exhales through you. Each moment becomes a shared act of creation. You as participant, not spectator. The ego resists this at first because surrender feels like loss, but what is actually lost is the illusion of separation. The bridge reveals there was never a divide to cross. In this space, even science turns sacred. Every cell in your body glows faintly with photons, light emitted as bioinformation. Dr. Fritz Albert Popp called them biophotons, carriers of communication within and beyond the body. Their coherence increases when you are in states of gratitude, love, and deep breathing. Incoherence rises during stress, anger, or fear. In simple terms, your inner light literally dims or brightens depending on how you breathe. You are painting your reality with luminous strokes invisible to the naked eye, but deeply felt by everything around you. Breath, then, is the true language of creation. Not the words you speak, but the rhythm beneath them. Not the affirmations you repeat, but the frequency you embody while repeating them. Each conscious inhale writes a new line of reality. Each conscious exhale seals it. When you understand this, the world stops feeling mechanical and starts feeling musical. You are no longer reacting to life's tempo, you are conducting it. And so you find yourself standing on the bridge, all half in matter, half in mystery, realizing that both sides are you. The breath travels between them, not as messenger, but as proof that there was never any distance to travel. The bridge was not built to connect worlds, it was built to remind you they were never apart. Between your inhale and your exhale exists a pause so small it escapes ordinary awareness. It's not a gap in breathing, it's a gap in becoming. In that space, everything stops: heart rhythm, thought, identification, as if creation itself holds its breath. What seems like emptiness is, in truth, infinite density. Within that microscopic silence, every potential version of you still exists, uncollapsed, waiting for awareness to choose. The mystics called it the womb of creation, the still point of the cosmos. The Egyptians trained initiates to enter it consciously, teaching them that the gods spoke not through sound, but through stillness. Buddhists named it shunyata, the fertile void where all forms arise. Today, physicists describe it as the zero-point field, an ocean of vibrating possibility that never goes silent, even in vacuum, whether through sacred geometry or subatomic equations. The message is identical. Stillness is not nothingness. Stillness is origin. Each time you pause between breaths, you touch this field. You return to the unobserved moment before thought assigns meaning, before emotion colors reality. It is there that the universe listens most intently, waiting for your next signal. Most people rush past it, exhaling immediately, unable to rest. Inside the unknown, they crave constant movement because silence feels like surrender, and surrender feels like loss of control. But the paradox is that only in surrender does true creation begin. The universe doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to coherence. And coherence is born in the still point between effort and release. If you slow enough to feel it, this gap begins to reveal its texture. The body softens, time elongates, a faint hum, not audible but perceptible, seems to pulse from the space within your chest. That vibration is the echo of the zero-point field inside you. It is the quantum rhythm that links your microcosm to the macrocosm. When you rest there, even for a breath or two, the nervous system recalibrates. Cortisol drops. Brain waves shift from beta into alpha and theta, opening pathways for intuition and creativity. What feels like doing nothing is actually the most productive state of consciousness there is. The body reorganizing, the field synchronizing, the observer aligning with the observed. In that suspended instant, thought loses authority. Identity fades, not as erasure, but as merging. You stop being the one who breathes and become the breath itself. This is why time often distorts in deep meditation. Seconds stretch into eternity. You are no longer measuring life through moments. You are experiencing life as the timeless continuum it truly is. The ancient texts said that those who mastered this pause could bend reality. Today, neuroscience shows that when the brain enters sustained coherence during stillness, perception itself reorganizes. The same event can be witnessed through an entirely new lens, not because the event changes, but because the observer's frequency has. It's in this state that reality becomes malleable. The wave of possibility hovers in perfect balance, not yet collapsed into form, not yet assigned meaning. The next breath you take becomes the bridge that chooses which version of reality will crystallize. This is why conscious breathing is so potent. The inhale following the pause carries the blueprint of whatever state you held within the gap. Fear held, there will birth a fearful timeline. Peace held there will birth a peaceful one. You are writing the universe between two breaths. The quantum gap also reveals the illusion of separation between inner and outer worlds. What you perceive as the space between your inhale and exhale mirrors the space between galaxies, the same still vacuum charged with invisible potential. NASA calls it dark energy. Mystics call it divine mind. Both agree that everything arises from it. This understanding dissolves the smallness of personal striving. You are not a single consciousness reaching for God. You are the field momentarily remembering itself through breath. The pause simply allows the remembering to happen. To live in this awareness is to shift from reaction to creation. You stop fighting for outcomes and begin listening for alignment. The pause becomes your compass. In moments of chaos, you return to it instinctively. One conscious breath, one silent gap, and the noise of the world begins to reorganize around your stillness. This is the secret behind calm leadership, spontaneous healing, and effortless manifestation. It is not charisma, it is coherence held steady in the gap. The power of this practice is cumulative. Each time you enter the gap, even for a heartbeat, the body learns safety in stillness. The nervous system stops equating quiet with danger. Over time, what was once effortful becomes natural. You begin to notice space between thoughts, between emotions, between events. Reaction slows, awareness expands, and the quality of your life transforms not through force but through rhythm. The more you dwell in stillness, the more the world reflects that stillness back to you. Eventually, the gap follows you everywhere. You no longer need meditation cushions or sacred rituals to find it. You can feel it in conversation, in traffic, in laughter, even in grief. The silent pulse beneath all sound. This is what the sages meant by living in the world, but not of it. You become the calm eye within life's storm. Circumstances still move, but you are unmoved. Reality begins to orbit the gravity of your coherence. In the quantum gap, you realize that breath was never the goal. It was the doorway. Silence is the room beyond it, and in that room, awareness meets itself and recognizes that nothing is missing. Nothing was ever outside. The pause between breaths becomes the living proof that creation doesn't happen over time. It happens in timelessness. When you trust that silence long enough, life stops being something you chase. It becomes something that flows through you, responding to the stillness you carry. This is the true secret behind the breath, not motion, but the majestic intelligence that lives in its pauses. There comes a point when understanding is no longer enough. The mind has gathered its evidence, the soul has heard its whispers, and still the body waits, tense, uncertain, yearning for a signal that says it is safe to believe. This is where knowledge must become embodiment. The doorway is breath, and the password is two simple words: I am. They may seem ordinary, but no phrase carries greater creative power. Every declaration you've ever made begins with them. Every identity, every limitation, every dream: I am tired, I am lost, I am healing, I am whole. Each phrase is a frequency that tells the field who you believe yourself to be. The universe does not argue, it mirrors. When you say I am, you are coding reality. The I am ritual is not a mantra to repeat mechanically. It is a physiological conversation with the quantum field. It begins with the breath, because breath is how the body speaks energy. As you inhale through the nose, awareness draws inward like a tide returning to its source. At the peak of that inhale, there is a gentle stillness, the same still point you touched in the quantum gap. In that suspended instant, silently declare within, I. Feel the word expand through your chest like a pulse of light. I is not ego here. It is existence itself, the recognition that awareness is present. Then exhale slowly through the mouth, releasing every fragment of resistance. Whisper inwardly, Am. Let the sound vibrate behind the sternum, even if no one hears it. The exhale becomes embodiment, the moment the abstract I condenses into form. Together, inhale and exhale form a circuit. Identity breathing into matter, matter breathing back into identity. Inhale I, exhale am. The cycle repeats until the boundary between the words dissolves and only being remains. With each repetition, the nervous system begins to entrain to this new rhythm. Heart and brain enter coherence, the electromagnetic field expands, and the cells start to mirror the state of completion. It isn't imagination, it's physiology aligning with frequency. The more you breathe this way, the more the body remembers how wholeness feels. Thought loses authority because sensation takes over. The ritual bypasses the analytical mind entirely. It teaches the body to believe first, and the mind follows. Imagine practicing this in the quiet of morning. The world hasn't spoken yet. The mind is still soft from dreaming. You close your eyes, spine lengthened, and begin. Inhale, I, exhale, am. The air feels thicker somehow, charged. After a few minutes, a warmth spreads through your chest as if the heart has become a small sun. The thoughts that usually rush in and the tasks, the doubts, the comparisons begin to dissolve in the radiance of that sun. The breath has taken command. You are no longer seeking peace, you are emitting it. This is the essence of creation through embodiment. You don't attract what you want, you reveal what you are. The field doesn't distinguish between imagination and reality, it translates coherence. When every cell hums with the same frequency as the identity you choose, the outer world must recalibrate to match it. The mirror has no choice. That is why the phrase, I am, carries such power. It leaves no space for longing. It states completion as a fact. Neville Goddard said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The ritual gives that assumption breath. You are not forcing belief, you are synchronizing biology and consciousness until the two become indistinguishable. Scientists call it psychophysiological coherence. Mystics call it union with Source. The experience is the same, a still, luminous certainty that what you desire already exists within you. Over time, the ritual imprints itself on your nervous system. You might begin to notice spontaneous coherence, moments when the breath deepens on its own, when anxiety dissipates before it forms, when gratitude rises unprovoked. These are signs that I am has moved from practice to pattern. You are no longer visiting the God state, you are living there. Some days resistance will appear. The mind will whisper, this isn't working. I still don't see results. When that happens, return to the breath. Don't argue with the thought. Breathe, I am through it. Resistance is only the body adjusting to a higher frequency, the old pattern dissolving under the new signal. Keep breathing until the rhythm steadies again. The field always follows coherence, it cannot do otherwise. The more you practice, the more tangible the energy becomes. People will feel it in your presence, not as words, but as calm authority. Circumstances that once drained you will reorganize without effort. Opportunities appear not as miracles, but as mirrors of the new state you hold. The I Am ritual doesn't change who you are, it reveals who you were beneath the noise. It strips away every false identity until only pure awareness breathes. At the highest level, the practice ceases to feel like ritual at all. The breath breathes you, the words dissolve. There is only an unbroken rhythm of being. Inhale and exhale, blending into one infinite pulse. You move through life as coherence embodied, the still point walking through motion. Decisions feel guided, conversations flow, synchronicities multiply. It's not magic, it's resonance held steady by the simplest act in the universe. Each morning, each moment of overwhelm, each quiet night before sleep. Return here. Inhale, I. Exhale, am. Not to get something, but to remember everything, because the truth you've been searching for in books, teachers, and rituals has been living in your lungs all along. The divine was never hiding in temples or scriptures. It was breathing through you, waiting to be noticed. And when you finally notice, life itself becomes the prayer. Every breath a declaration, every heartbeat an echo of I am. At first, breath feels like a practice. You close your eyes, slow your rhythm, repeat the sacred syllables, I am. But eventually something begins to shift. The practice becomes the presence itself. The rhythm no longer belongs to you. It belongs to life breathing through you. What was once an exercise becomes your natural state. This is where embodiment turns into identity. You are no longer entering the God state. You are living it. The mystics call this living in remembrance. It isn't about floating above life or escaping its complexity. It is about moving through the world with coherence, so stable that even chaos rearranges itself around you. The storms still come, but you no longer mistake them for punishment. You recognize them as wind moving through an open temple, your body, your field, your awareness. Nothing to fix, nothing to fear. You simply remain still at the center, and the storm reorganizes into harmony. Your body is that temple, not a metaphor, but an instrument of resonance designed for communion with the field. Every cell in you carries its own light geometry, pulsing in rhythm with the heartbeat of the cosmos. Science calls this bioelectric coherence. Mystics call it divine architecture. When you breathe consciously, those patterns activate. The body becomes a cathedral of frequency. Each breath is a bell ringing through its corridors, each exhale a hymn dissolving into the vastness of space. The sacred was never somewhere else. It has always been here, within bone, within pulse, within breath. Living as the temple means no longer searching for proof. You stop waiting for signs because your entire existence has become one. The universe reflects your coherence instantly. A delay in traffic becomes an unexpected alignment. A difficult conversation reveals hidden compassion. Even loss becomes revelation, an initiation into deeper stillness. You start to understand that reality doesn't test you to punish you, it tests you to refine your frequency. Each challenge becomes an invitation to anchor the breath even more deeply. Each exhale says, I trust. In this state, presence becomes effortless. You wake and breathe, and the breath feels luminous. The air moves differently through your chest, carrying a quiet intelligence. People sense it without knowing why. They relax near you, feel safer, speak softer. Your coherence becomes a field that others calibrate to, not through persuasion, but through resonance. This is service at its highest level. Transformation by example, radiance without agenda. You are no longer trying to awaken anyone, your existence itself becomes the awakening. Living in the God state doesn't mean perfection, it means stability. It means that no matter what happens, you return to breath, to awareness, to I am. Fear may still whisper, but it no longer anchors. You can feel it move through your system like wind through open doors. Nothing clings, nothing stays. This is freedom. Not because life has stopped challenging you, but because challenge no longer removes you from coherence. You carry the temple with you wherever you go. From this awareness, creation flows naturally. Ideas arrive fully formed. Intuition becomes conversation. Synchronicities multiply, not because you command them, but because the field recognizes you as a clear signal. You are no longer a node trying to connect to source. You are the circuit through which source expresses. Each action becomes effortless precision. Timing, tone, and outcome perfectly aligned. This is what the ancients meant by divine timing. The alignment is not in the clock, it is in the consciousness. Sometimes you will notice the stillness most in ordinary moments. Sunlight on a wall, laughter in a cafe, the quiet hum before sleep. These are reminders that enlightenment was never supposed to be dramatic. It is subtle, rhythmic, alive in the mundane. The breath continues to flow, not as a tool now, but as the natural tide of being. You realize that life is breathing you as much as you are breathing life. In that reciprocity, a sacred intimacy form, not between you and God, but between you and existence itself. They are no longer separate. This is where spirituality and science become one language. The mystic says, "I am the light." The physicist says, "You are made of photons that remember." Both are describing the same phenomenon, consciousness recognizing itself. When coherence stabilizes long enough, matter becomes transparent to meaning. You see the divine geometry in everything, the curve of a leaf, the spiral of galaxies, the pulse behind your heartbeat. The observer and the observed finally merge into one luminous awareness, silent, infinite, awake. As this realization settles, something even gentler emerges. Gratitude, not the kind that must be forced, but the kind that arrives like a quiet dawn. You find yourself thankful for everything, the beauty, the loss, the waiting, the breath. Gratitude is coherence made visible. It is the soft light that fills the temple when resistance has dissolved. From here, every exhale feels like prayer, every inhale like blessing. Over time, the breath no longer marks beginnings and endings. It becomes a single continuous flow. There is no start, no stop, only eternal rhythm. You understand now why mystics described enlightenment as remembering the obvious. The truth was simple. You were never disconnected. You were simply breathing without awareness. Now, awareness and breath are one movement, infinite, self-sustaining, whole. You walk through the world lighter, you speak slower, you listen deeper. Every step feels like communion. The mind still thinks, but its edges are soft. The heart feels everything, but without suffering. Life keeps changing, yet something in you remains unchanged. That something is the witness, the breath of God within human form, the silent rhythm through which creation experiences itself. The temple stands open, the light is always on. You are no longer the visitor kneeling in prayer. You are the space where the prayer happens. The field no longer needs your requests because you have become its expression. You are the breath breathing itself, the silence that sings, the stillness that moves worlds. And as the rhythm continues, all inhale, exhale, the simplest truth echoes through every cell. You are the living temple. You are the breath of creation made visible. You began this journey believing you were learning how to breathe. But what truly happened was the breath remembering you. What once felt like a practice became revelation. That the air entering your lungs was never just oxygen. It was consciousness searching for form, life meeting itself in rhythm. You have moved through paradox and silence, through science and spirit, through the hidden physics of your own becoming. And now, in this quiet space, you understand what the mystics tried to tell us all along. The universe doesn't live out there, it lives through you. Each inhale draws creation inward. Each exhale gives creation shape. Between them lies the quantum gap, that sacred stillness where all potential rests. You have touched it. You have entered the temple within your own breath. And now you know the truth no book could teach, that every moment is the field collapsing in devotion to your coherence. You no longer need to ask for signs. You are the sign. You no longer chase the divine. You are what the divine became to remember itself. The breath was never keeping you alive, it was keeping you awake. So as the final note fades, take one last slow inhale. Feel the vastness of the field move through you. Exhale gently. Let everything go. What remains is not silence. It is awareness, infinite, radiant, breathing itself. The journey is complete, but the rhythm continues, because now you know. You were never the one who found the breath. The breath found you.